Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to IEF's Conservation Chat. It's so great to see everybody here on the call today. I'm seeing a lot of familiar names here this morning. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Julie Bates, and I am the Donor Relations Manager for IEF. Also on the line with us today, we have our Executive Director, Deborah Olson, and Sarah Conley, our Conservation Coordinator. Also on the line today is, a couple of our housekeeping notes for today's presentation. Once we get started, I'm going to ask for everyone to mute their microphones and turn off their cameras to help save bandwidth because we have some people connecting from all over the world. And as we go through the presentation, just feel free to put any questions in the chat, and then Sarah will facilitate the questions with our guest speaker. And so we'll go ahead and get the presentation started, and I'll turn it over to Sarah to introduce our guest.
Good morning, good evening. Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. IEF is extremely excited for today's talk. We are happy to welcome one of our project leaders from Malawi. He's coming to us direct from the continent of Africa. We have Stephen Makumba. He's the founder of NatureKit Organization in Malawi. He is an environmental educator and consultant with 7 years of experience working with communities, farmers, schools, teachers, and stakeholders to promote environmental conservation and management. His work emphasizes community action through education and mentorship, and he works to teach environmental-friendly skills and techniques for life. It's excellent work that he's doing. IEF funds him this year, and so we're very excited to share some of the active work that is going on right now with all of you. So please give him a great welcome and put all your questions in the chat. Welcome, Stephen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm so delighted to be here and share some of the work which we are doing here in Malawi in terms of conserving the elephant. So I've put together a PowerPoint presentation, which I hope you'll be happy to see it.
Stephen, I think you are on, going to go back to your first slide.
Yeah. Yeah, all good?
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. So because I've already been introduced as Stephen Makumba, so I just have to go straight to the presentation. So our work basically looks at community development and also wildlife conservation. So we are trying to bring together harmony between the people and the environment. So our presentation and the work which we're doing currently, we have a project whereby we call it Environmental and Conservation Leadership in Malawi, which is targeting conservation of elephants in Kasongo National Park. And we are happy that it was funded by the International Elephant Foundation, and they have made our work so easier. So I'll take you from the introduction and the project genesis, the intervention that we have sort of, and the activities that we are doing, the impacts, and also the conclusion of the work what we are currently doing is still underway, but we after the halfway, we have seen what is happening so far. So the project is taking place at Kasongo National Park. So Kasongo National Park is the second largest park in Malawi. As you can see on the map, this is where Kasongo National Park is. And this constructed version of Kasungu National Park. So our work is done on this red patch here, which is Chisinga area, and it's a stretch of about 10 kilometers in length and 5 kilometers in the width. So we are accommodating communities around there. So this Kasungu National Park was a home for about 1,000 elephants in the 1970s.
Stephen,
Um,
we're not
so
seeing your
yes,
we're not seeing your slides. I think you need to right now we still see the beginning slide.
you're saying the first right. Okay.
Yeah. I think you need to start the slideshow and then click through as you change. I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you able to see these slides?
Not right now. Here, why don't let me share
Let me.
and then
Okay.
you can tell me when to switch slides. How about that?
Okay. That would be perfect.
Okay. So let me hold on while I get that. Uh-oh. Too many windows open. Okay. Can you see your slide?
Yeah. So you can just go to the slide number 3, where there's a map. Did you see this slide when I was explaining the introduction part?
No. So
You didn't see
please,
that one.
yeah, please cover this one.
Then you can go back one slide.
Okay.
Yeah, so here I was explaining, like, this is the outline of our presentation, whereby I'll talk about the introduction, the project genesis, the project vision, the project activities, project impacts, and conclusion. So that's a picture of me when I was at the Kasungu National Park. I had the advantage to see the elephants right in the park of me. So you can go to the next slide. So here I was talking about the Kasungu National Park, whereby I said it is the second largest park in Malawi, and it's a home for different wildlife. And in the 1970s, it used to accommodate about 1,000 plus elephants. So on the map, there's a certain green patch, that's Kasungu National Park. And then on the other side, there's an enlarged part of it. So the red part, that's where we work. And that's Chisinga area. So that stretch is about 10 kilometers in length and 5 kilometers in width. So that's where we work. So the question of elephants, as it was in the 1,000 elephant plus in those years, when it reached 2015, and when we did the survey, they found out that there were about 50 plus elephants, meaning that a lot of elephants were lost. And this was particularly due to poaching, as Kasungu National Park borders with Zambia, and then there's a kind of trans boundary kind of poaching which was happening. So a lot of elephants were lost during that time. And some activities started popping up to revive the population of elephants. And one of it is the translocation of elephants, which has happened in 2022. So about 250 elephants have been translocated from Rwanda National Park to Kasungu National Park, beefing up the population. So as it was 50 plus in 2015, when it was 2022, they were about 100 plus. So with the beefing up of 250 elephants, currently the elephants are now towering to 400 something elephants. And now, due to those translocation and all the activities that are happening to revive the elephants in the park, still there are some conservation issues that are taking place. So there are issues of poaching, there's issues of some small wildlife crimes that are happening in the within the people with the people within the Kasungu National Park, and there's a lot of deforestation. There's a lot of encroachment, which is still trying to reverse the reviving of these elephants. That's where we started to think about our approaches to save these elephants. Next slide. Yeah, so the project genesis, I was saying that people, they are more dependent on there's a lot of wildlife activities and everything happening around Kasong National Park, simply because 80% of the population is dependent on natural resources for their livelihood. So they need these resources to use for their livelihood. As they are doing that, they are creating a lot of pressure on the natural resource themselves, and they are disturbing the habitats, causing habitat fragmentation, and making a disturbance in terms of biodiversity and the ecosystem, as well as they are fighting for their livelihood. On the picture, there's a women carrying wood, which has been sourced from the park for their livelihood. Of automatically, some of the habitats there have been disturbed. So if this continues, then you're going to have a lot of problems in the future. Next slide. So the genesis whereby these people are usually going to the park to source for their livelihoods and wood. Basically, the major cause is the natural source is being identified as a challenge, whereby the people do not have the acquired knowledge, the values, and positive attitude to address the environmental issues. So people usually just look for what they'll benefit today and what will benefit in their lives as of now, forgetting of the other elements of nature that also they benefit from the same source, and also forgetting about the future, and then who is going to source as well in the future about the same sources. So that's the genesis of our project. The other picture is also some of the trees which have been cut just to make charcoal, and that's a big loss, and that's creating a lot of deforestation, which is going to cause a lot of environmental degradation from different sectors. Next slide. So we established that lack of knowledge and understanding about environmental issues among communities usually leads to illegal wildlife activities. So the majority of people do not value the conservation of wildlife. So when we found out from what we did from the survey, we discovered that the current elephant conservation status and its negative impact is unknown to the general local communities. So the information concerning elephant conservation is strictly to only people who have the access to information from the parks and from other sectors. So meaning that all the local people have been sidelined and they didn't have much information about the elephants. Even by telling them that there used to be 1,000 elephants in this park, they were all shocked and they did not know. All they knew is like elephants have stopped coming to our lands without knowing that a lot of things are happening in the park. So this the lack of information was creating a lot of myths and misconception to the locals concerning the elephants. So on this on the picture, that's the ivory, which was confiscated in 2012, and that's a lot of elephants which were lost there, and that's why we need to conserve these elephants and try to push for a lot of information to the communities. Next slide. So our project intervention, once we saw the gap, so we realized that we need to prioritize elephant conservation activities and concerns within the community itself by using a participatory rural appraisal tool, whereby we don't have to go to the park management and tell them how to conserve or how to make the laws, but we should directly go to the communities who are really in the boundaries of this park. We can be the best guards for the park. So our project provided capacity building to the communities on the beekeeping, efficient cooking stoves, briquettes making. We provided education and awareness. All these were targeting conservation of elephants. On the picture, that's one of our activity, briquettes making, and we are in a caucus with the youths from Chisinga on how best can we help them in facilitating the briquette making project. Next slide. So the main goal of the project is to enhance capacity building and instill knowledge, skill, and experience on biodiversity and wildlife conservation among the youths and communities surrounding Kasungu National Park. So what we want is to see that we have people who have got pro-environmental behaviors and attitude towards conservation of elephants, which finally it is going to benefit wildlife. And then we need to have individual and collective actions, and then this will going to create sense of ownership, whereby people will take the park as theirs and not that something which belongs to the government. So on the picture, there is a word which was written in our local language, but what happened is when we taught a lesson on elephant conservation to a school, and then we went there back with another session, we found that the students have made some posters and put them on the walls around their school. So this is one of the posters which says, Tose titeteze nyama za kuchiri, which simply means we all have got a law in protecting our wildlife. So that's what that picture is saying. So next slide. So the goals of our project, these are planning for the long-term goals. We are trying to restore and protect wildlife habitats to balance the ecosystem. And we would like to reduce poaching and maintain the population so that we can enhance biodiversity and also influence community participation in wildlife conservation to enhance individual and pro-environmental actions. So on the picture, you see that's a beehive, which is locally made, not the standard 2-bar or the other types of beehives that we know, but this is a locally made beehive. We are also trying to teach these people to revive these indigenous knowledges on how they used to make the hives so that they should benefit from the natural resource in a different way other than cutting down a tree. You can have a hive whereby you can get the honey and sell, and you're making out your livelihood. So some of the communities are really interested in reviving the indigenous knowledge which is there and trying to build a lot of these hives. So that's why we are looking to create pro-environmental behaviors. So this is one of the activities that people are trying to do in trying to show that they are able to do wildlife conservation. Next slide. So our project action. So first activity that we are doing is beekeeping. So in beekeeping, we have managed to train 120 community members, and they have established about 10 apiaries. And we have distributed 80 beehives, and also 40 local beehives have been made so far. So after we trained these community members, we offered them the top bar hives, which we have hanged along the Kasungu National Park with the authorization from the park management. We are intending to provide this for the livelihoods and also trying to deter the human-wildlife conflict by barring the elephants from coming to their communities. So far, this project, the beekeeping activity, has really yielded a lot of results, which we'll see as we go to the other slides. So next slide. Another activity we're doing is efficient cooking stoves. So a lot of communities here in Malawi, they use wood for firewood. Of energy apart from wood. The alternative sources of energy that are there, they are very expensive compared to the livelihood of the local people. So what local people do, they always focus on wood. And as of now, a lot of wood which was around the community depleted. That is now why people are now going into the protected area of the park to get some wood. So we have introduced these efficient cooking stoves, which they use few amount of wood, because people, they use the traditional methods of cooking whereby they have a freestone method of cooking. They use a lot of wood at once and they cook one meal and then they cook another after some time. But for this, it proved efficient because they can use only three woods per hole, and then they can cook whatever they want. But if they want to use the local ones, they can use about 12 woods at once. So we have trained 100 youths in how to make these stoves, and also 50 community members in how to make these stoves. And so far, they have managed to construct 1,244 these stoves to different households. So in terms of community members, we are targeting mostly women, so that they can have that kind of skill and they can be able to build out the stoves themselves. Next slide. So another activity that we are doing is the briquette making. So briquettes are made from the sawdust and waste paper. So 3 parts of sawdust and 1 part of waste paper is mixed in water, and then we drain the water, and then we put in the briquette making machine, And after that, the brigade machine is just simply used to press the water out. And then we dry them. After they are dried, they're used as wood. So this is also another initiative which we are trying to promote in order to reduce the use of wood, for cooking to the communities, to restore our habitats. So for the youths have been trained in how to make these briquettes, and for the community members have also been trained on how to make these briquettes. So according to the statistics from our reports, I think a total of 2,500 briquettes are made enterprises which are doing this kind of briquettes making. Next slide. So another key activity that we do is a mentorship. So this mentorship program basically trains youths, VNRC members, and teachers on elephant conservation. So we have these community members, the youths and the teachers, on different issues concerning elephant, starting from the live behavior of the elephant, the ecology, the impacts that it has in the natural environment, and what will happen if we don't have the elephants there, and what are the human activities that are affecting the elephants population, what is happening internationally in terms of ivory trade and everything. So we share with the people, and at the end of the day, we try to mentor them on their laws in trying to reverse the situation that we have just taught them. So after this mentorship, these people are now tasked to provide environmental education and awareness to their schools and to the local members who are there. So we don't ask to be going there and teach people about wildlife conservation, about the elephants. No, we live close to the communities, but they have some skills themselves. So we just need to train themselves. We need to train some of them so that they can train each other amongst themselves about the issues of environmental conservation. Next slide. So once those people have been trained, that's when they go out to do the awareness and education campaigns. Of course, we are always there together, but we give them a first read. They need to take read in everything, and we just go on the background trying to monitor and answer some questions which people might pop up. So the awareness is done through the use of cinemas and also the awareness session, whereby we gather people in marketplaces, in school grounds, and trying to do issues concerning the elephant conservation. So through the cinemas, we have managed to reach out to 3,100 people, and that's including children as well. So these cinemas, we have some films concerning elephants conservation. Some we took them on National Geographical, and then we translated them in our local language so that people should be able to understand whatever is being said. On education, the teachers now, they have to train, they have to have sessions with the kids at school, and they have formed wildlife clubs at each and every school, whereby the kids have to be part of that wildlife club, and they have sessions to do with wildlife conservation, and particularly issues of elephant conservation. So we also have got formed some youth clubs, which are now in the community level, and also we have got 1,286 members from there who are also taking part in those kind of sessions. The awareness, we have reached out to 4,510 community members, and it's really showing the impact, because it's one of the activities that we have a lot of people at once, and whereby you can reach out to the mass at large. Next slide. So based on the survey, the survey which we have done, so we did the baseline survey before the project was rolled out, and then we developed some key performance indicators which will try to track on monthly basis what exactly is happening in that community. So based on the survey that we did, we have seen that there is 80% change in knowledge and understanding about elephant conservation. So when we went to the communities and we tried to ask them questions concerning the elephant, even just asking somebody a simple question like, how do you think the kgs that an elephant eat in a day? They don't know. What do you think is the logical important for the elephant? They don't know. So once we did the survey, we found out the answers, and then we went there and did the awareness, and then we did the education. When we went there with the same survey, we saw the changes, and that's what's in those are the numbers, and we're happy to see that there are a lot of changes that are happening in that particular area. And then also we saw a 72% change in participation. So in the first place, when we went and trying to initiate the beekeeping, to initiate the briquettes making, the stoves, we thought that people will not accept it. And really, the first place, people were like a bit not trying to participate. But with time, people have changed, and now we're having a pressure whereby a lot of people will want to participate. A lot of people will be like, give us the hives, teach us how to do the hives. So like, no, we have some activities that we have put, and then we need to follow each and every step. But then there's a lot of pressure. Sometimes we do things like, okay, let's just help these guys. But now there's a lot of pressure for people trying to learn more, and now the participation is now growing. So there's also a 68% change in behavior. So this has been sourced simply because we are able to see now people going to report about issues concerning wildlife or wildlife crimes to the extension workers. So extension workers have been calling us, tell us somebody came and tell us this story about what is happening, and there are a lot of issues that are there. And some of the guys we had one guy who went to say, can you give me hives so that I should stop going to the park? So we immediately said, bring him in and then just give him one of the groups that we have formed. We should be there. So that's some of the changes in behavior that we are seeing. And there's 100% utilization of the efficient cooking stoves. So simply because these people will find it hard to find wood, the stoves have come as a savior to them, because for them, if they're going to have a band of wood, like one band of wood, they can use it in a week, and that means it's gone. But with the efficient stoves, now we can use that wood up to more than up to 3 weeks, or sometimes up to 4 weeks. So to them, it's also saving energy and time for them to go and search for other wood. So they're thinking that this is the type of a method that we need to be using when cooking. And we're also having a lot of people trying to force us to build to construct the stoves for them, construct the stoves for us. Where are those people who are constructing the stoves? And because it's free, so everybody's just interested to have it in their homes. And there's 100% kind of an issue. And then there's 78% in usage of briquettes. So people are now able to use the briquettes that we have developed. Still, there's still lack of wood, and they don't have alternatives, and the briquettes are now and then there's a decrease, 64% in decrease in wood use. So now a lot of people are not using the wood. Some are focusing on the briquettes. And this decrease, we are talking about people going to the park. So from the reports that we are having from the park officials, now the reports about people going in the park and coming out with food has declined compared to what it was in the first place. And then there's a 68% improvement in people's livelihoods. So these livelihoods is for the people who are benefiting from our briquettes making and beekeeping. So the beekeepers, the first batch of the hives that we distributed and that we constructed, people have managed to get honey from it, and they have sold and they have had some money, which they are now using as a village credit loan facility. Now they are able to loan the money amongst each other, and now they're improving their lives. Similarly, it's the same thing which is happening with the briquettes. And we are making a plan whereby if these people who have really been able to have these resources like beekeeping and briquettes, once they are reached some certain level, we will now take the resources to the other community members so that they should also benefit from the thing. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so in the conclusion, based on the goals that we set and the trajectory at which our project is going, we are really restoring and protecting wildlife, and we are supporting the livelihoods of Chisinga, and we are happy for the International Elephant Foundation for funding us, because these are the changes that has been made in the lives of different people, and some areas they're also willing to say, can they help us as well? So on the picture, that's now a cinema, which is being done at a certain community in Chisinga. So these cinemas, we do them at night, and we are showing videos concerning elephants. So that's our work. Next slide. And for your attention.
Thank you. That was incredible. So interesting to see the details on what you're doing. I know that people are pretty excited in the chat. Why don't we start? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what life is like in Malawi? What are the roles that people in the community play? Is it mostly an agricultural society? What kind of jobs do people have? Things like that.
Okay, so for a large number of people, mostly it's agriculture. So especially in the rural communities, they do much of agriculture, and the agriculture which is done is not that agriculture of a large scale whereby you have to say my life depends on this. It's a kind of a 1 acre kind of agriculture whereby they just grow foods for themselves, for their families, just to eat, and that's the major part of the population is much into that, with some doing a little of small businesses, and these type of businesses are usually done to do with natural resource, particularly charcoal production and also wood, and those are some of the things, but the major majority does the agriculture part.
Very interesting. So it seems like on top of teaching people about wildlife and conservation, it's also very important that you help the quality of life of the people themselves. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when we talk much of the conservation and then we left out the livelihood of people, probably it equals to nothing, because the people who are the ones that they damage much of the wildlife, they are the same people that most of the time the excuse will be is for their livelihood. So mostly we target much issues to do with their livelihood first, so that we meet their needs. And then after we meet their needs and their livelihood is met, then we can talk about how they can get part in wildlife conservation. Even through our project, what we did first is to mentor the people. After we mentored the people, before we awareness, before the education, we first go to do the beekeeping, and then to go into the briquettes making, to make sure that they need to have something that they can depend on before we start telling them to stop doing this, stop doing this. We can tell them stop doing this because now you have this, but don't just go to say stop this, stop this. So that is why we usually also have the to improve their livelihood first before we go much into the details. And in the past, we used to distribute desks to schools. So we give them school desks, and then we go there, and then you're like, okay, you have this school desk. So can you now try to conserve wildlife? So that's the kind of support that they need to get first before we tell them something to.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. So you said most of the area is agricultural. So how do the farmers feel about elephants? Can you talk a little bit about any human elephant conflict that happens in the region where you work? Do people see elephants regularly? Do they have that kind of fear of elephants as opposed to that feel of protection for them?
So in the past, the issues of elephants in contact with people was a bit minimal, but after this translocation, so we have translocated 250, 260 50 elephants to Kasungu National Park. So these are not residents in Kasungu National Park. They are now new to the area. So we are trying to move around. So since June, we have received a lot of calls about elephants going out to communities, destroying houses, destroying food. But the good thing is the area of Chisinga, where we are doing our project, we only received that report once. But the areas neighboring to Chisinga, which is Julu and other areas, they are having these cases each and every day as of now, because the new elephants now, we're just moving into the communities, and now people are trying to bring in like solutions to this issue. And we are also part of a team which was being consulted to say, how can we handle the situation? Because we cannot go to Chisinga and do elephant conservation. Things are okay there. We are happy. There are no problems. But the neighbor is just suffering, and people are like, okay, so what are you doing there? What's happening? Yeah, so the issues of human life conflict now, but in the past, it was just now and then. People would stay 3 months without seeing an elephant, but now it's every week they'll see an elephant passing by.
Hmm. And are the people finding that they are that the methods that you're teaching them, the beehive fences and the things like that, are they helping with the conflict with the protecting their farms?
So far as for us, the beekeeping is the one that we are relying on, because we have instructed the Kasungu National Park people that, because the Kasungu National Park once had a fence, but now the fence is no longer there. Now we are using the beehives as part of the fence in the area that we are working. So with the fence, now it's working, but now also the people need to see a certain benefit from the project that you're doing. So when you're offering them briquettes, for example, they're forming an enterprise which is making money for their livelihood. So somewhere, somehow, the negativity that they are having for the elephants, for what it is doing in their fields, it comes as a relief to say, okay, this is what is happening, but now at least these guys are thinking of us. They have given us these machines to do whatever we can do. Because the message that we always preach, we say, elephant is an animal which knows no boundary as human do. So for us as human beings, we know that, okay, this is where I stop. I cannot go this side. There's a neighbor, and this is the neighbor's lawn. But for the elephants, they just move around without necessarily knowing that this is not where to go. And then we try to tell them that most of the times when these issues happen, when they see elephants out of the park, it's not intentionally that the elephants have organized themselves like, let's go and do this in that village. No, it's just like they are naturally just going around and then search for food, and then they found the food. And another problem is the type of agriculture that is done in communities surrounding Kasungu National Park, which is part of the solution that we are trying to give to the people, to say, can you try to plant some other crops that the elephants will not tamper with? Because if you're going to grow maize, you're going to attract these guys. Because most of the times, the elephants, they're always eating tree branches, they're always eating some grass there. Once they have a smell of maize, they're like, oh, something new, let's go and try that. So it's like you attract them to your field. But if you're going to plant some other things that they are not palatable to them, they will not be around. So those are some of the solutions that we are trying to make a strategic plan to give out to the community so that they can get involved.
Excellent. Sounds like that is excellent outreach work. So from the chat, people are asking about the attitudes of the local people. So when you go out there and you put on your programs, are you finding that people are open to learning about the methods that you're teaching? Do they welcome the information? Are they suspicious? How do they feel when you first approach them?
So when the project was being piloted, when we did the baseline survey, people were like, what's the plan? You know, why are you doing this to us? So we said, we are having a project, so this is gonna give us some results to say what has changed and what has happened. So through that process, and then the project was coming in the first place, we faced resistance. I cannot say no, people just welcomed everything. No, in the first place, people were resistant to the project, and they were usually saying, what exactly is this all about? So when we started talking about, because that's that moment we were talking about mentorship. So we were like, mentorship about elephants, what's that? So after the mentorship ended, and then we started bringing in the beekeeping and the stoves and then the briquette making. Now people started showing interest. They wanted to be part of the team that is gonna do beekeeping, part of a team that is doing briquettes making. So we wanted to get involved from these activities. And when we go for awareness nowadays, in the past, we also used to have a small number of people. And because of how we do it, we have some prizes, we do some competitions, we do some quiz. And then it's like we try to bring in a kind of an involvement where the people should be always involved in whatever we're doing. So now people have started to see as something which is very important. And now they are always coming in our activities. And if you can compare the way people were coming in into our first awareness activities, and now people are we are having a lot of people. But in the first place, it wasn't that they just immediately joined and celebrated about the thing. They were some kind of resistance, but now we are moving together, and now they're asking more from us than we can give them now.
But that's good. That means that they're finding value in what you're doing. They're seeing that your program and your projects are really helping their lives. That's hopefully will create a sustainable solution. So that's good. So we have some questions about the fuel efficient stoves. So are they built inside the houses or outside?
Yeah, so these are built outside. So, okay, the setting of the houses in the rural communities is different from the urban setting. So the urban setting has the kitchen inside the house. But for the rural people, they have a house and the kitchen is built outside. So these are built on the outside.
Okay, that makes sense. So smoke and stuff is not really a problem then, since it's burning outside.
Yeah.
Excellent. Also, we had some questions about, someone was asking where in Africa Malawi was. So I pulled up a map to share with everyone. So if you want to, so here is Malawi in the center of this map, but do you want to talk about sort of where Malawi is located and like strategically the neighbors and how that affects the elephant population?
So yeah, Malawi neighbors with Zambia, Tanzania, and Mozambique. But for Kasungu National Park, it's neighbors with Zambia, and the boundary of Kasungu National Park in Zambia, there's also another park which is called Lukusuzi. So Lukusuzi National Park is just close to Kasungu National Park. So the elephants, they sometimes move between these two parks. They can go to Kasungu National Park and they can also go to Lukusuzi National Park. So this transition of moving from one side to the other is also what creates a lot of problems, because we can try to manage our communities, but then if the elephants they go to the other side where there's Lukusuzi National Park, automatically we can face problems. So there's a program which is done by the Department of Parks and Wildlife on Kasungu. They call it Transfrontier Program, whereby they involve the park from Lukusuzi on issues concerning elephants in Lukusuzi and concerning elephants in Malawi. So that there's that kind of cross-border kind of activities, and that's why a lot of elephants were killed during the 1970s, simply because they are crossing from Lukusuzi to Kasungu National Park, and within that crossing, people just have to kill them, and then off they go. So once they kill them, they can kill them in Lukusuzi, and people just immediately jump to Malawi, and then they are gone. So now the Transfrontier project is trying to make sure that if somebody has killed an elephant in Lukusuzi, and then it comes the government also has to play the law on him. Even if he kills in Malawi and then tries to jump to Zambia, also the laws have to play with him. So the bordering that was also one of the issues that really influenced the loss of elephants. And the communities surrounding these Kasungu National Park and Lubusuzi, they were known for harboring the people who had come to poach the elephants. So the people just come there and maybe give him a small amount of cash, and they harbor that person, and that person will go and kill the elephant, takes the ivory, comes back in their home, stays there for some months, and then starts being as one of community members. Of some time, then he leaves with the ivory. So because these community members didn't have the knowledge about what's happening, but now with the knowledge that they are getting, automatically if somebody comes there, they'll probably report about it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great explanation. I think that transboundary issue that you're talking about really harkens back to your point that elephants don't know boundaries. That's a human concept. So we have more questions. So when you approach the local people, do they want to be involved in the project for conservation awareness? Or do you think their motivating factor is really having another source of income? Or do you think maybe it's a combination of the two?
So as of now, it's a combination of the two, and particularly people. What I've seen is in these rural areas, there's like I say, lack of entertainment. There is no issues to do with people coming in and then gathering up, making shows, and when we go there, to them it's something else. It's something that they can enjoy something. So the awareness program is also one of the things that is really making them to enjoy what we do. So once we bring in the speakers, we play the music, you see people coming out. Some people they cannot dance at home. We don't go to dance somewhere. So once we are there, they find this is the time I can dance. This is the time I can sleep. So it's a combination of the two. But particularly, I can say that we have a lot of we attract a lot of people during the awareness campaigns compared to any other activity that we do. Awareness campaigns and cinemas are the things that a lot of people are there coming in. And for the cinemas, it's because people in local communities don't have a television. So they don't see anything. It's their day life is going to the farm and then coming home and listen to the radio. That's their normal way of living. So once you bring in a cinema, they want to see, oh, how does it work? What happens? And so when we go there and then we set everything up, when they see these videos, they are always excited. Come back next week, come back tomorrow. And we want to see more about these things because they have never seen those type of things. Because sometimes when you look at people in the urban areas, they are privileged because they can see some things on National Geographic. But these people, they don't even know there's National Geographic. So once they see the videos and then we translate them in our local language, they're understanding what is being said. They're able to see. They are really, really happy. And these are the two things that they really attract a lot of people. And for the beekeeping and the other things, they also, people are being attracted, and we are also happy for that. And we can say that, yeah, the element of finding an alternative source of living is there because they know that, okay, once we go to the park, when we are caught, the laws will be on us. So if we can do this, probably we will not bother to go to the park, and we're gonna stay at home. So it's both ways.
That makes perfect sense. And yeah, I mean, I think people don't realize that these are social activities as well. It's entertainment, it's education, it's all those things. So you showed us some really interesting photos of trees and wood being cut down for fuel use. Are there any wood restoration projects in the area? Anything to replant trees? And kind of what species of trees, if you know, were those that were cut down?
Okay, so Malawi, we have the Miombo woodlands. So these are the indigenous trees, and people, they usually like cutting the Miombo trees because they the activity of cutting down trees is not like that picture which I show. It wasn't for the wood as to use directly, but they make charcoal out of it. So, for example, from the statistics that we have had, uh, 2 trees can be used to make 150 kgs of charcoal. So these people, in terms of community use, so like for household use, they can need about 3 bags a month. So you're talking about 6 trees each month for every household. So mostly they cut the Miombo woodlands because they say the charcoal lasts long compared to the other trees. In terms of restoration, as NatureKit, we have been embarking on tree planting activities. We have established a lot of woodlots in schools, and also we have established woodlots in the communities. So this is an ongoing activity whereby each and every rainy season, we have to make sure that we provide some tree seedlings to the community members, to the schools, so that they are able to maintain the environment. And we have a program which we call Tree Ambassador. So Tree Ambassador, we go to a school and then we pick about 10 students, and then we say, we're gonna give you the uniforms, we're gonna give you the exercise books, the pens, but we're going to give you 10 trees each. So you guys, you have to care for those trees. When you have no pen, just call us, we'll give you a pen. So we have that a program which is also moving on. So this program is being done in 2 schools. We're hoping to expand it to other schools because it is giving a lot of is giving out a lot of evidence that things are working. Because we don't want these kids to plant the trees at the school. We want them to plant at their homes, and then now and then we go and check. So those are some of the restoration programs that we are doing.
That's great. I love the idea of having people be tree ambassadors and they're responsible for specific trees. The more people feel connected, like wildlife is their responsibility, the more they'll protect wildlife. Which goes back to another question that we're getting in the chat. Everyone is incredibly impressed by your percentages of improvement and the progress that you've made. They want to know a little bit about you. How long have you been working toward these changes? And maybe tell us how you got into conservation to begin with.
Yeah, so for me to get into conservation, my background, I did forestry, but now I went for mentorship at an organization. I was an environmental educator, so I used to go to schools and then teach about wildlife crime, teach about biodiversity, teach about ecology, and off I went home. So through the program, I sensed some gaps which were in that program, because it was all about education and telling people to do some actions whereby we are not helping them in taking those actions. So we're talking about rural communities who are illiterate. They haven't gone far with school, they don't know much about the environment. And when you're teaching them in class, they're always just listening to what you're saying. So when I went back to the people to say, there's something which is lacking here, we need to improve this, and that. The people said, no, our project is going this way, so we cannot go that way. So I said, all right, thank you. Then I'll start doing my own things and try to fit in the gaps that are failing to do. So that's how I got into conservation, is because I stayed with that organization for about 4 years. So I learned a lot of issues. And now, even to talk about forestry now, I've forgotten even some of the scientific names of the trees. I don't even remember how to measure some tree. I'm like, I'm blank. But tell me about something concerning the elephants, I'll be there. I'll be like, okay, this is what you can do. So I just switched and changed. And I think the passion which I developed along the way, and seeing the things which were happening, I think I just enjoyed what was happening, because most of the times I used to go to the park for different meetings, for different workshops. So whenever we are there, we'll see some animals, we'll see the elephants. So I was like, this is nice. I think these are things that we need to conserve. And then I got into the conservation, and then now I'm just there stuck and doing my work.
Well, I think we are all very happy that you got into conservation and that you started doing this and making such a difference in Malawi for the people of Malawi. I think as a way to wrap up, we have a comment from one of the people in the chat that says, "Thank you, Stephen. As you said, improving livelihood can be a way to improve local community wildlife relations, thereby conservation." And I think that's a great way to sum up the great work you do. Thank you so much. And I know that IEF is very excited to support your work, and we are happy to share it with everyone here this morning. I'm going to turn it over to Julie so she can let everyone shower you with praise.
Yes, thank you so much. What a wonderful presentation. If everybody would like to turn their cameras on and give Stephen a round of applause, we welcome you to do that. So thank you so much, Stephen. It was a wonderful presentation. We learned so much. And we put a link in the chat there that if you want to help support Stephen's work, you may do so by going to our donate page, and the link is there in the chat if you would like that. So thank you very much for all of our donors that are on here, and hopefully new donors as well. Also, I want to put a plug in for our next chat, which will be November 28th. That is Giving Tuesday. So please watch your emails. We'll have more details on that soon. And we hope to see you in November for that next for our coffee and cocktails like we had last year. So November 28th will be our next presentation. We'll have times and more details soon. So thank you very much. And hopefully I will get to talk to some of you during the month, and have a good rest of your day.